G'day, how you doing? Adam Williams here from Easy Way Photography. We're back with episode 2 of the YouTube image critique. Now we've got 3 more brave artists who have emailed me and put their images up for critique. It's an incredibly brave thing to do, to take the image that you love the most and ask somebody else what they think of it. It's an incredibly brave thing to do, I believe. So thank you to these 3 artists for submitting these images. Now, if you want to be a part of one of these episodes in the future and put up one of your images, have a look in the description below. Very easy. Just submit a JPEG image to me. The sizes and whatnot are down in the description below. Plus, what we also need is a bit of an artist statement, the story, the intent, the emotion that you were trying to capture and communicate within that particular image, because I want to critique it based on what you were trying to achieve, not based on what I think would look best to my tastes, if you know what I mean. Okay, so once again, I'm going to try and be really encouraging, really positive, but I'm also going to be honest, okay? I need to be honest. I can't just go through each image and say they're incredible, although from the brief look I had from these 3, they're all pretty good. Okay, so let's jump in, let's get started, let's run through these 3 images. Up on screen here, we've got the first image by Darren Hannaford, and he says about this image, once again, excuse me, the screen is down here, so allow me just to read this text. I was trying to portray a sense of loss. This is the top of a waterfall in the Wadigans. So I wanted the sun to be harsh and dry and in contrast to the last few patches of green and water. So he's suggesting, you know, this waterfall is maybe running dry, not getting much rain lately. It's a bit dry and harsh, and that was what he wanted to communicate. At least that's what I'm getting from the artist's statement. Let's take a look at the image itself. Okay, well, number one, it's an incredibly aesthetically beautiful and pleasing image. But you can see that this is an old, now that with that statement, and this is the nice thing about having a little statement, it can hint a little bit more about what the photographer was trying to do with the image, or communicate with the image. Because now that I know that, had I not known that, I just would have thought this was a beautiful rainforest scene with some moss. Not much water going on, but now that I know that, this is probably an old creek bed that in times of rain has quite a bit of water running down there, and we can see that there's no water there at all. Does it communicate a sense of loss to me without that statement? Trying to portray a sense of loss. Top of the waterfall. Wanted the sun to be harsh and dry in contrast. Yeah, well, the sun is... Well, the light is actually quite beautiful and quite soft in actual fact. These light rays coming through here are absolutely gorgeous. I love them. But is it harsh? Is there a heat? Is there a hotness? Is there a harshness? I'm not sure whether it portrays that. I feel a softness, and there's a delicate beauty to this image, and the greens are incredible. How would I portray... Maybe, how would I improve this? As I said, as a beautiful image, there's not much to really critique. I can't see any critique. I like the softness of the tones. I like the softness of the light. I like the warm light in the background and the slightly more neutral light in the foreground. The greens, the dry leaves, it all works very well. Portraying that sense of loss. Loss of the dried up creek bed, or drying up creek bed. That's a tough one. Maybe play with the colours. Maybe the greens are a little bit too green. Maybe some of these other areas could maybe tilt back to a yellowish dried out green a little bit more. Okay, and then in contrast to around these little areas of water, maybe these should be quite green, but you know, starting to fade off into the dryness of the surrounds maybe. Maybe that would tell that story that you were getting in location a little bit better. Because to me the forest still looks quite lush and beautiful even without the water. Maybe this is just the first stage of the forest kind of drying out as well. And maybe, in fact, maybe there needs to be nothing done at all, but there could be a series of works, you know, 5 or 6 images that tell that story from, you know, the water in flood to drier, 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 or something like that, you know, as it slowly dries out. And this would be image number 2 or 3 maybe, as you got the water in full flow, then a little bit of a trickle, then no water here, and then starting to turn yellow and then brown, something like that maybe. Beautiful image, absolutely gorgeous. I love the composition. You've got that nice sort of line of the dry creek bed running up from the bottom right corner into the bright sunlit patch in the background. The beautiful highlights of those ferns in the background are really nice. There's a lot to explore here. There's a little reflection in the pond over to the left there. The one thing that, just the tiniest little thing, there's a little bit of a haziness in here. Maybe just dabbing down and darkening off that shadow area a little bit. It's absolutely the most tiny nitpicking thing. Other than that, it's an absolutely gorgeous image. It just looks a little bit foggy in here. Maybe you've added a bit of fog. There is a little bit of atmosphere in the sun rays and whatnot, so maybe that's how you wanted it to be. But it just might be a little bit too obvious in that section there. Have a play with that. The image is incredible. Well done, absolutely gorgeous. Let's go along to the next. Deb Bray is the brave artist, brave photographer who has submitted image number 2. Deb says, at the time I took this, I was desperately looking for some peace and calm, as I was struggling to find it in anything. The ocean has always been my solace. I feel the same way, Deb, actually. I love to go to the ocean to recharge and relax. Now, Deb also mentioned that there was some family turmoil and dramas going on. That was the reason that she was looking for some peace and calm and solace. Let's take a look at the image. Beautiful, yeah, I do get a sense of peace and calm, absolutely. As I said, I do connect with the ocean in that way as well. I'm wondering, is the horizon straight? It feels like it's not to me, but it could be an optical illusion with this little cloud here. Let's take a look by dragging down a ruler. Oh, got you there, Deb, I think. I think I got you. Straighten up the horizon is a little something that we could do there. Let's jump into the critique initially before we look more into the emotional side, actually. So, absolutely, straighten that horizon up. There's a little bit of a light bleed. If we can, let's just zoom in a bit, actually. Okay, you can see just on the outside of the rocks, Deb's maybe tried to add a little bit more light to the rocks, which is a good idea, but it's bled out into the sky. Now, what I recommend trying to do there, or a better technique, is to paint outside the lines. So get yourself a really big brush when you paint on a bit of light. You know, if we press B for brush here, and we come back onto the background, not quite that big, but if I was painting onto these rocks, I might decide to use a brush like this big and then feather it off into the sky a little bit, just so you don't get those obvious halo light bleeds on those rocks. Other than that, I love everything about it. I love the calmness, I love the peacefulness, the reflection in the wet sand, the foreground rock there leading into the midground subject, and then those beautiful tones and colours in the sky. It does remind me of calmness. If you wanted to go for a really super peaceful, super calm image, you could potentially go for a longer exposure, like a 30-second or a 1 minute. This looks to be about in the 5-second range to me, roughly around there, maybe 3 to 8 seconds or something like that. So you could really smooth off that water by going super calm. But for me, maybe the story is that little bit of turbulence, that little bit of bump in the ocean might represent the turbulence in your life, and then the rest of the image is representing the, you know, the chasing or the looking for peace, quiet, and solace. Beautiful. I love it. Just a couple of little things to fix up there, the light bleed, and straighten that up, straighten that horizon up, and I think you've done a really great job. let's move on to the last. Denny Jones. And we've got Lion Rock in Zimbabwe. This is the Zambezi River, which is wild, rugged, and misty in many parts. I was trying to create an impression of mystery, wildness, and a sense of being drawn into the misty, forbidding, unknown realms of this river gorge. I was also aiming for a painterly effect. Let's take a look and see if she got that. So what are we looking for here? Mystery, create an impression of mystery, wildness, and a sense of being drawn into the misty, forbidding, unknown realms. Okay, keep that in mind. Yeah, lots of mystery created by what is this rain. Looks like rain right off in the background there, absolutely pouring down by the look of it. And I love that that's been captured within this frame. It could just be mist from a waterfall, or it might be fog with a little bit of drizzle. It looks like it's absolutely smashing down with rain, or it's got a whole lot of moisture in the air. I love that. Okay, I like the framing. The dark framing does add to that foreboding nature. The rain or the mist or the fog adds to the sense of mystery in the background. And you've decided to capture the water in quite a short exposure, which adds to the drama and turbulence of that water. If we had have captured that again at 30 seconds or something like that, it'd be all silky and smooth, and it wouldn't really add to the drama. It would add to calming down, a sense of peace and quiet. And that wasn't what you were going for. If we jump back here, I don't believe you were going for trying to create an impression of mystery. I believe the fog and the fact we can't see right into the depths of this image do create that. Wilderness, yes, it looks wild, doesn't it? You know, a definitely untouched wilderness, wild landscape here. Yes, a sense of being drawn into the misty, forbidding, did I say foreboding before? I might have. Forbidding, unknown realms of this river gorge. Yes, I'm drawn in. Yes, I am drawn in, particularly by this bright spot of turbulent water that really pulls me into the center and then allows me to flow down the river and then wonder what's around the corner. Absolutely, that's very good communication, visual communication. I was aiming for the painterly effect. Well, let's zoom in again here, just one notch here. Yeah, there's still a lot of detail. There is a lot of detail. So I guess maybe I'm not 100% what the painterly effect is referencing, whether the sort of the misty lack of detail in the background, or it doesn't seem to be a real sort of blurry Gaussian, blurry Orton effect, blurry going on there. But everything else ticks those boxes beautifully. If I was going to critique, if I was there myself, I love the composition. I think it's been really beautifully handled and chosen for that particular emotion and story. But to get a little bit more forbidding, a little bit more foreboding in this particular, and a little bit more drama, and a little bit more, what do I want to say? I want to say a little bit more, lost the words. I kind of want to say balance between dark and light, but more like a battle between dark and light, which will create more tension, the battle between good and evil, if you like, that kind of theme, or dark and light in a more artistic sense or a more photography sense. I'm thinking that stepping back a little bit or going slightly wider and bringing in a little bit more. I've just spotted the lion head. There it is there. Very cool. Stepping back or bringing in a little wider frame to add more darkness to the foreground and more framing would give it a greater intensity, and that fight between the darkness of the foreground and the uplifting lightness of the midground and the mystery of the background. I'd like to see that at least tried, or a composition to compare that to. If I was there, I would potentially or hopefully try both of those compositions. It was Lionhead Rock, wasn't it? Lion Rock. Yeah, there's the lion there. That's pretty cool. Eye, ear, mouth. All right. What an absolutely spectacular location. Once again, thank you everyone. Thank you to the 3 photographers. Who did we have? We had Darren with that image there, Deb with this image here, and Denny with that image there. really high quality images today, and not much I can really add on a level of improvement or critique to add to that. Once again, if you want to be involved, take a look in the description below for the details and what you need to email me to be involved in one of the next upcoming critiques. I'm trying to get through all of the images that get submitted to me based on the time they were submitted. So I'm just running from the first images and running all the way back through. So we're going to get some days where we have really high quality images like this, and some days where we have some images where I can really offer and help with some, well, hopefully some helpful tips to improve that image. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again for watching along. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.